And we're up.
We're up. Good
What?
morning.
Good morning, Jorie. What's going on? How you doing?
I haven't chatted with you in like forever. It's like face to face, not just a Instagram story or watching a podcast of yours. Yeah, everything's good.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's funny, like we have literally worked in the same place at the same time. We've sort of intersected in sort of our industries and where we've worked, but we haven't had a consistency in terms of either working together for continuing to work together or just like meeting up every now and then and just collaborating. So I'm really excited to chat with you today. I hope I find out some things that you've been hiding from me over these years.
Yeah, you really want to know, eh? This is why we're doing this. Just like finally get to pick your brain.
Well, you know what? Like, here's the thing. When I met you, and we'll get into this a little bit. When I met you, we were working at the same place, and I heard about you. I've heard so many things about you before I met you.
Uh-oh.
That
Hopefully they were good things.
Well, it wasn't bad things.
Yeah.
And then following that, I've been so honestly impressed with your career and like how you've been able to just sort of figure out what your strengths are and then work to that.
I appreciate that.
That's what it feels like from myself from the outside in. But let's talk about that. So we met at BPMTV.
We sure did. A long time ago.
Long.
So long ago, if you think about it. Like, I think, we did BPMTV. I actually found like an old clip, and then I was like, what year is this? And I was like, holy smokes, like 2004, 2005. I'm like, oh my God, it's 2020. That's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago. And yeah, I guess that's when you started. I ended up at BPM around 2009.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
And then we did the photo shoot.
That photo shoot, we sure did.
How did BPMTV start for you? Like, how did you even end up there? Talk about Back at You.
Totally. Well, I actually started on BPMTV doing a dance show. So that was sort of how I started, was doing the dance thing, and there was an instructional dance show on there. I was one of the backup dancers. If you watch the videos, they're totally cringeworthy, but it's a good laugh. The hairstyle, the moves, everything like that is super dated. But I was doing that, and it just sort of came a time when they were looking for a new host for the request show Back at Ya. People like Aaliyah Jasmine were hosting it before me, Patricia Jaggernaut, and I guess the spot was open, and it's nothing I ever thought that I would actually step into. I was doing the dance thing, not speaking on camera, just being in the background, which I was totally comfortable with. And then the opportunity was presented to me. It was nothing that I was like, I'm gonna go, be on camera, and I'm gonna host this show. Again, it was presented to me, and my young sort of early 20s was like, all right, sure, why not? Let's see what this is all about. And I guess the underlying theme was that I had a love for music, dance culture, with relatively no on-camera experience. But again, that love and passion for everything music, and it sort of just stemmed from there.
I'm glad you mentioned your mentality going into it, that you're just kind of like, whatever, I'm going to do this, because that's how you feel sometimes going into things. It just feels like you're just like, whatever, I'm going to do this, even though you may not 100% be comfortable with it. Your mentality is sort of like, I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to do my best, and whatever happens.
Yeah. I think back then it was also different. There wasn't social media. Totally dating myself, but there wasn't social media. There wasn't all these avenues to talk, to be on camera. There's very few opportunities, and it was like, wow, you're presented with this opportunity. How could you say no? So it was an exciting opportunity presented my way, and yeah, exactly, just being like, sure, let's give it a try. And again, my young sort of naive self, just being excited for an opportunity and saying, hey, let's just go for it and see where it takes me, and have fun with it. That was really the mentality, was just to have fun.
And that's a great mentality to have. Now, at the same time, I believe you were also working for the Argos.
I was, yes, I think I was probably on the Argos dance team, on the cheer team. I left there for a bit. I was working with the Raptors dance pack, and again, this is during the whole stretch of working with BPM, and then I was coaching with the Argos as well. So yeah, the sort of the cheer dance aspect was always there.
Yeah, and from the outside in, it seemed like dance was your everything. It was your world. You were in it. You were a dancer. You were, directing and coaching dance teams. Let's go back a little bit. Talk about your career in dance. Just looking you up a little bit. I know that you did some dancing, and now you coach the dancers. It's sort of the trajectory that I took. I was hosting, and then my next pursuit was to create a show and then train hosts. So it seems like that's like a natural progression for some people. But talk to me about your journey a little bit with dance.
With dance, totally. It just growing up, my parents submerged me in dance classes. Obviously, becoming sort of a competitive dancer and doing that thing when I was younger. When I was in university, I wanted to continue dancing. I wouldn't say I wanted to do, I wanted to make it my career, but I wanted to be able to do school and work and also keep up my passion for dance. So that's what being on a sports team allowed me to do, was to, again, I was here at York doing my schooling, but also continuing to dance and perform at the same time. So again, it wasn't something that I wanted to do professionally on its own. I knew that was never sort of my avenue, but I knew I wanted to incorporate it in some way, with sort of chasing another dream of something for my personal career. I did the Argos cheerleaders for 4 years. Like I mentioned, wanted something more. So I took a jump over to the Raptors to sort of experience that NBA court dancing. And then I was sort of done with dancing after that. I was happy, to be in front of an audience. And then I was very much good to sort of step back and be behind the scenes.
And I want to put a pin there where you said something there. You said
Yeah.
you wanted a little bit more, so you went into the NBA dance pack, and you were there for a bit, and then you realized, like, you know what, I'm okay with just stepping back and not dancing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I like to talk about in conversation with
Yeah.
my friends or whoever it may be is the mindsets and motivations and methodologies. So
Totally.
I love that you identified at a point in your career, and you can actually look back now and say, this is what I did, and this is why I did that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about the time in life where you decided, like, I kind of want more. I want more of a challenge. I want more of an opportunity, whatever that was that led you into looking for outside opportunities. And why is it that you decided NBA was the place to go and not just like a studio or dancing in music videos or something like that?
Yeah, I think from a sort of a young age, like I've always wanted to be in charge. So to have things in my control. So I think, again, being part of these dance teams was always a great opportunity, but I knew that it would lead to more. So it was never just to dance. And I mean, I spoke about having fun, but I know that my mind frame was always to sort of be in control, not be the person that necessarily is in front of the camera, but the person that is controlling and sort of overseeing, I guess you would say, producing, managing, from that point of view. But I also thought, being part of the Argos and then jumping over to the NBA side of things, it's like submerging yourself in as many different avenues and opportunities to meet as many people as you can, to explore your different skill sets, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And if you sort of stick to one thing, you'll never sort of grow as an individual. You never realize what you want to do. You'll never come to that realization of again, what you're meant to do. So I think I knew that I have to jump around to figure out and gain those skills to become who I want to become. And it took a while to sort of try different avenues and meet different people to sort of build what I'm at and what I'm doing right now.
That's awesome, and that's actually like a key to success. It's what you're describing is a growth mindset,
Totally.
and sort of a fixed mindset. And you said, well, if I want to be better, I'm going to have to meet people, and if I want to be better, I need to challenge myself and do things that are outside of my comfort zone a little bit. which I think segues perfectly into when you eventually ended up back at the Argos, you were coaching.
I was, yes. I think what I've always realized is keeping your ties, never burning bridges throughout, throughout time is important. And what that allowed me to do was revisit coming back to Argos and taking on a different role, sort of maybe a role that always at the beginning I sort of knew I wanted to do. Again, going back to having fun and dancing, but also knowing that like I want to be in charge. I want to be able to direct. So always kept those ties. And then again, another opportunity was sort of there. A new coaching position was available, and I was like, yes. Like again, I've kept those ties throughout all these, years doing different things, and maybe that opportunity will come back where I can finally be where I sort of envision myself, sort of as a young dancer, just to finally have some creative control and be able to direct and take the lead there. So I stepped back. What year was it now? 2010 to finally coach, and that position was available, and that was that. Yeah.
So now we've gone through a little bit of your story already. We have dancer, we have TV host, we have dancer again, and now we're at the coach level. So now you've excelled in your career to the point where you're now ready to manage people, and
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing a team of people. Some, I don't know, it seems like I've watched some of your audition videos. It seems like there's like 40, 50 people in the room, and you have to kind of manage, okay, well, who am I going to have on the team? How am I going to motivate these people to do what I want them to do, the way that I want them to do it? Which is in my eyes, a leap in growth, because you're going from being basically an employee to a manager, owner, director level. What were the things that you had to learn to make that leap? And were you 100% comfortable making that leap when you decided like, hey, I think I'm ready for coaching? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, I think I was ready. But also you have your doubts because, we've all had our, different coaches and teachers, and you learn from the things that you like from them, what you've seen that worked. You learn the things that didn't work. So you have a lot of pressure on yourself because you want to be the best leader. And again, you have that experience of being on teams and working with different leaders, and what kind of leader you want to be. And I hope and I think that I was able to take the learnings again from my teachers and put them towards the person that I wanted to be in leadership. But yeah, it comes with a lot of pressure. You want to do a good job. A professional sports team. You're not just dealing with 5 people. You're dealing with 10 people, 30 people, 40 people, 50 people, however big the team was on that particular given year. But yeah, I look back to myself in 2010 when I started coaching to when I completed coaching in 2017, and the growth that I took. I'm happy with how I ended off my coaching sort of chapter of my life, and who I became and how I sort of conducted my team under my leadership.
Now, you mentioned being under the tutelage, I guess, of the leaders who you were under, and
Mm-hmm.
taking a little bit from them and
Mm-hmm.
identifying the kind of leader that you wanted to be. Uh,
Totally.
I want to unpack that a little bit. What were some of the traits that you identified and you said, you know what, I can take this on. This is the kind of leader I want to be. And how did you implement that? And what was that growth process like for you?
Yeah, I think I'm sure you can look back on some of your coaches or whatever you sort of were submerged in, and there were the coaches that you feared, right? There were the coaches that you're like, oh my god, like that, like I'm gonna do something wrong, they're gonna yell at me, and there was that sort of leadership style, and then there was the leadership style where that coach didn't have to say anything; they give you sort of that look, and you just knew because you had so much respect for them. They respected you, you respected them, and I knew that any sort of leadership style that I was under, where it was sort of pretty it wasn't very nice, was nothing that I wanted to be. Again, I always wanted people to respect me because they respect respected who I was as a person. Again, not leading out of fear, but leading out of respect. So yeah, I think from the many different teachers and dance teachers and coaches that I've had, that's what I've taken, is that I did a better job when I respected my coach as opposed to fearing my coach. And that's what I continue to do in my business today, is that I hope my staff always feel comfortable coming to me. We can have open conversations, and that they want to do a good job because, again, they respect me and they like me. You want to like your boss. You will do a way better job when you like your boss and you like your coach, because you don't want to disappoint them or let them down.
Yeah, and I can imagine. I agree with that, and I've
Yeah.
definitely had managers, bosses, even coworkers sometimes that um, I might have feared a little bit, or I didn't want to fail around, and like some of that is like child stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with, like, you don't want to let them down. That's like you want to do a good job as an employee or whatever it might be. So there's nothing wrong with fear, but you want fear out of a respect. You're like, I'm so scared to let that person down because I respect them so much, as opposed to I don't want to let them down, or I don't want to do a bad job because I'm just gonna get fired, or they're gonna like get mad at me. There's like, people will go the extra mile if if they like the person they work for.
Now, I know some of this is probably like keys to management, and this is how you've been able to carve out your sort of managerial style. So I know there's probably some secrets here that you can't divulge, but how do you go about, like, let's say I'm running a team of 5, 10 people.
Yeah.
How do you go about saying, I want to be respected by all of these people, and what are the things that you do in order to get there?
I think it comes down to like taking the time to understand everyone that works for you, each person, which is it can be a challenge, especially for us as we continue to grow. Having 20 people and then 40 people, and then sort of this growing. You want to feel the connection to each person, and for me, that's super important to understand a little bit about each person, where they come from, their background, because it allows me to connect better, because not every person is the same. So if I can understand, what your interests are, how you communicate, there's so many different things, but again, connecting with each person individually, you'll get the most out of that person, because they feel connected to you. You never want to feel like a number. You want to feel like your boss, your leader, is invested in you, and that's what I try to do every day. And whether it be back from my coaching days, or now sort of with my company, is trying to connect with each staff member to have that connection and get the best out of them, and them not want to let me down, hopefully.
Well, from a distance, it seems like you're doing a good job, and we keep alluding to company and staff and
Yes.
things like that. But in 2017, you mentioned you stopped your coaching career. That's when it was halted.
Yep.
That's when it ceased, and you started a company called Cotton Candy
Mm-hmm.
with your partner Nicole.
Yes, I was actually doing it sort of when I was coaching as well, but that's one of the reasons I stopped coaching, is because the company was growing at a rapid rate, and it was impossible to give myself to both. So that's when I decided to take that leap. I know we were talking sort of offline about being ready to sort of jump ship, and I felt ready to sort of do it on my own. And again, I always want to give 100% to everything I do, and I wasn't able to do both, but they were both similar in a way. So 2017 I stopped coaching, and that's when I sort of went full force into what is called Cotton Candy event staffing.
So tell me a bit about what Cotton Candy Staffing Company is, and maybe when you answer that, I have another question. But just tell me a little bit about what Cotton Candy Staffing is and why you even decided to start it.
Yeah, so Cotton Candy event staffing, just I guess starting with the name, when you think of cotton candy, you think of fun. You think lights, the colors are fun. It's just, what do you think of when you think of cotton candy? Go for it. I'm gonna ask you the question.
Well, I think
I feel like I'm hungry.
I'm like, I kind of want some now. I
Um,
cotton candy. I think of, yeah, like you said, it's fun, the colors,
Energy, yeah.
it's sweet. I think of, carnivals and having a good time, and just it puts positive emotions in my brain. I get like a dopamine rush almost.
I love it, and that's exactly what we want people to sort of associate with our company. Sort of years of being in sports and marketing and that sort of world, realizing how the impact of great people at an event. Again, coming back down to the cheerleaders, the in-game sort of staff and whatnot, they can help like electrify any sort of branding experience. And I realized that that I had this network of really awesome, amazing people that I was always working with, and sort of the impact they had on events, and going to events myself and just sort of realizing something was missing, and that was that the people themselves maybe were not helping bring out that brand or electrify that event, like I mentioned. So what we do, we work with a lot of direct to brands. We work with a lot of big agencies who plan these amazing experiential activations for really fantastic brands, 500 Fortune brands. I'm sure you've seen sort of on our Instagram page all the different companies that we do work with. They plan these events and then they realize, oh, we have no amazing people to sort of help bring it to life. So that's when they come to us to recruit, to help train, and to pick the best fit for that particular brand. And that's Cotton Candy event staffing right now. We started in 2014, sort of with not very many people. And I would say last year we had about 600 people cross country on our roster. So it's growing fast. And this summer is obviously a lot different than typical summers. I was ready to go into a summer with no life. But weird COVID hit, and now I'm like, summer. I'm like, I have time, I'm breathing, I'm exercising. But anyways, sorry, I totally just rambled on about cotton candy. Now I'm hungry. Now I'm just hungry. Now I like actually want cotton candy.
That's great. I love it. I love it when you ramble because you don't really tell me much anyway. So
I know, you're getting it. You're getting everything out of me today.
Okay, well, I think of people starting businesses, entrepreneurs, let's say, and shout out to Nicole, by the way.
That was Nicole.
Yeah, shout out to Nicole.
Nicole just had a baby. That was an interesting sort of element within our business as well. So she says hi from home with the baby.
Hi, Nicole. Um, but like I was saying, I think of entrepreneurs, business owners as almost like musicians, right? And in the sense that musicians have to believe that their product
Mm-hmm.
better than anything else out there, or at least believe that they could attract the market better than anyone else out there. And I feel like for somebody to do that, there has to be a bit of audacity. The audacity to think that you can just put your business out there and
Yeah.
people like it. Like, where does that come from? Um, One of the reasons I was intrigued with speaking to you is because of what you just said. You were doing your Argos head coaching. You were building this business on the outside of that. And then it got to a point and you went full time with this thing. I'm really interested in that balance that you had to maintain. And then at what point, and like, how did you decide this is something that I think I can do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to balance it for a little bit. And then I'm going to sort of slingshot and fire out of a cannon, and I'm going to do this full time. Can you talk to me about that process and like that time in your life and where you were building the business, where you started the business, why you targeted that industry? And
You know what? People ask me this a lot. It's like, how did you decide to come up with this idea, and where did it stem from? And the reality is that I was doing it like my whole coaching career, my whole 20s. I was doing it without knowing I was doing it. I was building networks. I was connecting with lots of people, submerging myself in different areas, again, meeting different people, lots of interesting networks of people. And without knowing it, people would always ask me, hey, you're you have, 20 awesome, dancers. Anyone want to be in a music video? Or, I need some people to help me, hand out some flyers here. And I was always just connecting people naturally. I was like, yeah, I have these most amazing dancers that will be really great for this. Or I have this guy that can do this. And I was just connecting people and always on my phone connecting. And I got like a rush out of it because I just enjoyed seeing people get work and people find the right person to work. And it was just this, like, it just gave me this, like, this high to always help. And then it took me a long time to realize, oh, my network is pretty awesome. It's pretty worth something right now. I think maybe I can make some money off of this, and not in like, I'm going to make money off people. It was just like, I think I have a skill set of connecting people and seeing the good in people and finding people's good qualities and pairing them with the right person. Ask Jorie, she knows a girl. Ask Jorie, she knows a guy. Like, I always was that person. But realizing that it was something that I was growing without even knowing it, and that it was an opportunity to take that network and put them in different opportunities. And I think when I turned 30, I think everyone's always trying to figure out what they want to do, when they're 20, 25. And I think I'm always like, just chill. Like, you're going to figure it out. So you'll figure it out. And it wasn't until I turned 30 that I was like, oh, I've been doing this my whole 20s, but now I'm going to capitalize off of all the experience and networks that I'd formed. So it sort of spoke for itself. And I think I just took it and put a bow around something else, around something that I was always doing, essentially. I hope that explains. But yeah, it's like, it was, again, it's like something I was always doing. And it goes back to everyone always saying, I don't know what I want to do. And it's like, just keep on doing what you're doing. Because like, at some point you're going to be like, bam, that's it. I was always doing it. I was always good at it. I just never knew that I can take it and package it in a different way to sell what I've always been good at.
Yeah, that's really interesting you say that, because a lot of people would say something like that because they can't think of how this is going to parlay into their career. I just do this all the time. It's just something like, for me, for example, I love hosting.
Yeah.
I've always loved hosting. I've always loved interviewing, and I've always loved teaching. So I was like, how do I like combine those maybe? How do I, and I love creating. So it's like, how do I combine these things? And here we are today, like the original idea. I've written so many shows, like TV shows and segment and whatever. And one of them I wrote actually at BPM was for you. Was called Just Dance. It was because Lady Gaga's song was big at the time.
Yeah. I remember that. Wow. You had so many amazing ideas over the years. Like, you're just sort of reminding me of things, and just sort of seeing all the different projects and cool ideas that you've done is pretty amazing.
Yeah, thank you. For me, it's just, I'm just doing it a lot of the times because I love to do it. I love to create. I love to write. I love to make things.
Yeah.
And maybe a bit of that is a little bit selfish because sometimes I just want to be seen. So maybe I'm gonna make a podcast, and so people can see me a little bit, and people can understand, like, hey, wait, Andre can actually do this. So it's just something I naturally do. Like I love to present. I love to host. I love to interview. I've gotten a few compliments on it, so I think other people believe that I can do a pretty good job at it as well.
We had that conversation like as well before. It's like you're so amazing at it, and it's something that I learned very, very early on. Is like, I'm not good at speaking. I don't enjoy being in front of the camera, but you have seemed to identify that you enjoy that. So that's pretty awesome. Again, going back to thinking of all the different things that I've sort of jumped on board with you, the different things that you've been working on, sort of following your journey as well, and how much is under your resume. Wow. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it hasn't parlayed into a career like yours, but different industries.
Totally different industries, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's great though. I'm really excited for the growth that you guys are undertaking with Cotton Candy. It seems like the team is growing as well. It seems like you have a couple executive members on the team. It's not just you and Nicole doing all the work, which I was crazy. I'm like, you guys are doing so much work. Like, how is there only two of you?
Yeah, well, we had no life, then we have no life. Like, but yeah, we grew our internal office team, and as we continue to grow, we will need to obviously grow that internal team. Just we're dealing with so many people. Like I said, 600 people last year we had out across Canada. So for my sanity and for my sanity and my mental health and all that jazz, we will continue to grow. And those are the joys and the highs and the lows of being an entrepreneur and being a business owner. Is all the fun that comes with it, the understanding of growth, where you need to be support wise, knowing that you can't take on the world all the time, that you know, again, going back to liking to be in control and liking to have ownership of things, and just recognizing that you need to grow internally and have that support system of staff within our head office to help us essentially grow and become bigger. Weird summer. I'm like so quiet right now.
Yeah, it's a crazy summer, but you guys have seemed to have been able to handle yourself pretty well. You guys have a couple of events. I saw you guys were casting recently.
Yeah, you know what? The last, when obviously COVID hit, there's those 2-3 months, it was very quiet, a very interesting time. Sort of you question, what the industry will look like, what the future will look like for XM marketing and those opportunities for us to thrive. So obviously some worry there, but also staying positive and knowing that it won't be gone, but it will be different. And I think in the last month or 2 months, we begin to see some movement in our industry. People, we recognize that there's products and people are still want to buy things, whether it be food or beverages, lots of alcohol, I'm sure now too. But people are starting to do things in modified ways. So we've been lucky in that way to continue to do some sampling activations and promos in a safe and altered, modified way right now. We're using this downtime to cast some more great talent, to grow our roster, to add some amazing people to it, so that when we are full force and get back to it, we've done the work and use that time now to connect with those people.
Now, you've mentioned a couple times now that you like to be in control, you like to be in charge.
No.
I could imagine as an entrepreneur, because I'm kind of like that. I kind of like to be in charge. I like to be in control. I don't know if that's like a type A personality type thing, or if that's like a entrepreneurial trait of an entrepreneur. But do you have any issues with that, especially having a partner and having to work with other people, especially having to work with other agencies and other companies who may not understand things the way that you do? Do you have any issues tackling that?
Well, let's just be clear. I'm not like an aggressive, like need to be in control type of person. I think I have a vision and I like to see my vision sort of carried out, but I'm also, again, we can speak about sort of having a business partner and sort of having to work hand in hand there. I think Nicole also has the same personality as me. But I think we have different avenues to get there. So that's why we're able to complement each other. I like to be in control, but I think I'm a little bit more quiet and sort of relaxed, and I'm observant, and I know what I want to get done, and I know the right ways to speak to people to sort of get those things accomplished. Nicole has a really aggressive, high energetic sort of take on things. She's very hands-on, but we both have the same end vision, which is good, but we have different ways of getting there. So I think that allows us to work hand in hand, because we're not doing exactly the same. We're approaching it from different angles. She revs me up, I might calm her down, but together that works for us. My mind is going everywhere. It's like, where do we even go with this?
I can tell. I know you're editing.
Editing, eh?
I can see you editing, but you're doing a good job.
Funny. You're a good interviewer. You can see the eyes and what people are, where their mind is going, eh?
I can also see what you're trying to avoid, so we'll just leave it there.
What am I trying to avoid?
I don't know. I mentioned, vendors, like working with other agents, potentially working with maybe even people you put in positions of power, like if you have a team leader or something, or if you have like just being able to hand it off to someone else and say, okay, you take care of this now. Cause that was really hard for me. I remember I would write a show and I'd be going to shoot a demo and I'd just want to shoot it and edit it and everything. But then I had to bring on somebody to do one part of that. And I'm like, just
Yeah. You know what? An old boss of mine once said to me, like, I remember going to his office, and he said, I hire good people and I trust them to do the job well. So for me, like, my control is that I'm able to pick the right people, and then I have to be able to trust them to do the job. So I think I'm still able to have that sort of control. Again, I sound like I'm like a control freak, and this word is like control. Just like to have a vision of how I like things done. But if you hire the right people, then you have to trust them that they're gonna do the right job. So I've always sort of had that in the back of my mind always, because again, we have those bosses that don't trust you with anything. You're like, I don't even know, but it's like hearing that from that person, from that old boss, saying like, I trust you to do a good job, because I just sort of take that mentality with the people that I work with, is that you're the pro at what you do. I'm going to trust you to do what you do. And
and
yeah.
and that's also just the sign of a good manager, because he's putting the responsibility on you now, right?
Yeah, like he's had his say. He's chosen me. He's selected me. So he feels good with his within himself to say, I made this decision to hire her, or I, to put this person in field, or be the dancer for this role or whatever. And yeah, essentially they'll do their best work. So
Okay. Well, you know what? Why don't we end it off with this?
okay.
I love the conversation. I love that you've actually, gotten into a couple things, and you've let us in a little bit today. Jorie.
You're like, and now the last part is about your love life. No, I'm kidding.
I know I'm definitely not getting anywhere
We're
there.
not getting there. We're not going there yet.
But when it's all said and done, when Cotton Candy, or when you've sold the business, or when you've stepped down from your executive role, and you're ready to go fishing, or retire, or whatever it is,
Okay.
when it's all said and done, what do you want people to remember about Jorie Brown?
I want people to see me as a good role model, someone that empowered them to be their best self. I think beyond, beyond just making money and, running a business and stuff like that, the things and the joys that I get out of these types of things, also coaching, and being a leader, is seeing other people be able to grow their skill set and develop and become their best self. So looking back on, years down the road, I want people to say, I learned some great skills from Jorie. I was given opportunities that allowed me to be where I am today. So I think that's important to me.
Well, I think you're doing a great job at that. I'm sure your staff looks up to you. I'm sure your staff is looking at you as a great leader and somebody that motivates them and inspires them. Just looking at your marketing and the way that all of your staff are commenting on your videos, and you guys do these comedy nights, I think they are, or talent shows.
Yeah. You're following along. Yeah.
I'm following along. I'm a fan. But really proud of everything that you've been able to do, and I'm glad to have met you along the journey, along the way, and along with your connections. If there's any way you could connect me with Jesse Reyes, I'd love to. I'd love to have that conversation with you offline sometime.
Awesome. Awesome. She's so badass. She's so amazing. And I love seeing everything that she's been able to accomplish. And yeah, we can definitely chat more about that.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time, Jorie.
Love it. Okay. So great talking to you.